Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride. How you feeling, Professor?
Good. Good. I know you're a little bit more rested after last week.
I was jet lagged as shit last week.
I know you were.
I know. Feel much better this week. YouTube, thanks. Please subscribe. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We got a good show today. We got a lot of shit to go over. So please, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. How you doing?
I'm ready.
You ready? In 3, 2.
Welcome to SuperTalk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode number 15. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, is my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella. Double T!
In the house. Titanium is here, fired up, ready to go. Holy shit, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
What an episode, right?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Shit went down this week, right?
It went down. And you know what? We kind of expected it.
There goes our child rating again. Oh, man.
My cussing? Yeah, I'm cussing.
I did it this week, so I'm sorry.
I love it. I love your filthy mouth. You kiss your mother with that mouth? I love it.
It's funny. Well, before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors like we do every week. First, Studio GG Studios, home of the man band Corn on the Cob. Animal Names, right?
Animal Names is the new hit. And little news. Studio G Studios has acquired Tiny Timmy Studios. You know, they kind of merged. And Severe Marketing Enterprise. Another friend of ours had a small business and kind of jumped in, and Studio GG Studios becoming this mega house. I love it. So yeah, Animal Names, check them out.
Well, congrats to them. That's awesome. Please check them out. Again, the link to their YouTube page is in our show notes. Please check them out because they support us, and we hope that you will support them in kind. Also,
I have a new beginning for the YouTube show that Studio GG Studios put together. So it's kind of really cool. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you're listening to the podcast, check out the beginning opening. It's cool.
Okay, awesome. And we also want to thank our patrons because
Absolutely.
They help bring the show to you as well. So patreon.com/supertalk. Become a patron of the show. $1 per episode. That's all you need to commit. And you will become one of the show patrons. And those of you who've already done that, we really appreciate your support.
Thank you so much.
And continued support. So thank you for doing that. All right, well, let's jump into it, Tone. News and reviews section. Let's get in to episode number 4 of Falcon and Winter Soldier. So you just finished it, and it's pretty exciting stuff, man.
Yeah, I thought it was slow as shit. I thought the beginning was very slow. I thought the story dragged a little bit in the very beginning. Not the exact beginning, because I thought the trip back to Wakanda, the flashback, was absolutely brilliant. I thought showing Bucky and that emotion that he went through, struggling with those, with the mind control that Hydra put in him, and that breaking and him being freed,
and him realizing that he had been freed from that control,
unbelievable.
It was emotionally crippling for him.
It was.
He realized all of a sudden those words no longer have control or power over me. And I'm so thankful for that, and I don't even know how to control myself.
Sebastian Stan put on one hell of a performance. I mean, the anguish in his face and him remembering all of his Winter Soldier doings and him becoming free was moving, I thought. And powerful. I thought it was brilliant. It was very powerful. I thought that was a great scene.
Well, it also showed the connection between him and Io, the character from the Dora Milaje, who was in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, who showed up at the end of episode 3, showed their connection, that she had helped him get through that process and wanted to give him some assurance that she wouldn't allow him to hurt anybody if for some reason it did work. So you saw their connection. So they've had some history as well.
Yeah, that's the history there. Kind of a smoke show she is. But yeah, they definitely showed and they established that they had that history. And you go through something that emotional, the people around you, you're going to remember. You have some kind of connection with them. And I think that's what happened.
Well, and we all assumed, and this again, the assumption that we had in the little scenes that we had from the Winter Soldier being in Wakanda, that Shuri had been working on him and trying to deprogram him. And then we saw confirmation of that this week, that it worked. Right. Yeah. And so he has a lot to be thankful for, and he has a lot to thank the Wakandans for. And they were kind of holding them to that too. Say, look, we freed you of this.
How could you let Zemo go? Yeah.
Right.
I love how she calls him the White Wolf.
Right.
That was cool.
Yeah. The White Wolf. So, but yeah, great episode. And I agree with you, Tony. When I watched it, the first 30 minutes were just like, kind of dragged on a little bit. And again, a little bit more of plot development, character development.
Not a lot of action, just no action, slow. Yeah.
Right. A lot of conversation, really developing the characters. But the last 15 minutes were incredible. So,
is it wrong that I'm kind of digging Zemo? Is it wrong that I like him? Like Loki, people are starting to be drawn. I guess Marvel released the hour-long footage of him dancing in Madripoor. They released that, and it went nuts on social media.
Yeah.
Is it wrong that I'm kind of digging him? Like, I like him a little more than John Walker.
Well, I think a couple of things. They're making him out to be somewhat of an anti-hero. Those of us who know him from the comic books know how much of a bad guy he is. I mean,
he's a bad guy.
He led the Masters of Evil, was the name of the team he led in the comic book. So the guy is not a good guy. And we know in this show he has ulterior motives that may not have revealed themselves quite yet. But I think Daniel Bruhl's a great actor.
Great actor.
Fantastic actor. And I think they're setting up, we've always intimated that this show and potentially the the Black Widow movie are going to set up the Thunderbolts team. We feel that there's another team coming, and the Thunderbolts, big team in the comics. And for those of you who haven't read this, the Thunderbolts was a superhero team that came to be when the Avengers had broken up. So the Avengers were no more, and the government put together a team called the Thunderbolts.
Right. And isn't that Thunderbolt Thaddeus Ross, General Thaddeus Ross?
And that's why it was called the Thunderbolts.
That's why it was called the Thunderbolts.
But every member of that team was secretly a villain, right? So they had put this team together, but and Baron Zemo led the team as...
Right.
The character that he played was...
the Red Hulk was a part of it. There were a few.
Eventually. Yeah. Much later on. But it was the Fixer, the Beetle, Moonstone... Goliath, some of the bad characters from the Masters of Evil had come up with their new characters in the Thunderbolts, and Screaming Mimi was now Songbird. There was a lot of, but it was a superhero team of villains.
Could Carly be Songbird?
No.
Okay.
No.
And just asking.
Her powers were very different.
Very different. Okay.
Yeah, but no, I would say no.
Because I felt like at some point, when Sam was having that heart-to-heart with her, which was brilliant, by the way, I kind of felt like he was trying to recruit her, right? And then later on, she tries to pull him recruit him. It's like, Falcon Recruiting Agency. Is he on the recruiting end for the Avengers? I kind of felt like he was.
Well, but can you really recruit somewhat of a terrorist who's killing innocent people, and then she calls them not innocent? But I don't know what the future of the Flag Smashers team and her character specifically is in the MCU. It may just be with this show, and we'll figure that out over the next couple episodes.
We have 2 episodes to close that storyline
we'll figure that out. But I do, you were talking about Daniel Bruhl and the Zemo character in this show. I have a feeling that they're moving forward with that Thunderbolts idea.
Oh, absolutely.
And then humanizing him and giving him some likability would help him
sure.
play that role on that team. Right?
The fact that the fans are eating him up. I mean, an hour of footage, was trending. #release. Release
but I think a lot of that's Daniel Bruhl. He's
great.
He's really good. And but we'll kind of talk through this a little bit. So. We got that scene, as you mentioned, in Wakanda, kind of showed where Bucky had come from in his rehab there. We see the plot line of Bucky and Sam and Zemo trying to track down Carly and the other super soldiers and find the serum. And Io, the Dora Milaje, had given Bucky 8 hours. He was like, he's being very useful. He's a means to an end. Give me 8 hours. She's like, you have 8 hours, and then we're coming after him.
Right.
So now they're on the hunt, and Daniel Bruhl helps track down Carly. They find their kind of hideout in the middle of the city they're in, and he's able to woo some of the kids with some candy.
Turkish delights.
Yeah. And finds out that the funeral for the woman who had passed away the episode before, the mentor for all the Flag Smashers, was that day. They found out where that was. We see John Walker and Battlestar show up, confront them, and say, we don't know what we're doing, but you guys do. We're taking in Zemo. And Sam and Bucky are like, look, we're doing work here. He's helping us out. We know what we're doing. And
it's interesting how they always show up. How are they tracking Sam? They got to be tracking him.
It's got to be something.
Yeah, right? Something's going on there.
Yeah, but now they want to be involved in this process, and they track them down. Sam convinces everybody that, look, let me try to talk to her. I'm a counselor at the VA.
This is my wheelhouse, he says.
I've dealt with people. I've dealt with soldiers like this before. This is what I do. I can talk her down. And he has a great, like you said this earlier, he had a great conversation with her. It seemed like he was getting through to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
But John Walker, being John Walker.
How good is Anthony Mackie in this role?
We were talking about that.
Yeah, you said something earlier about he's really shining in this, isn't he?
Well, the fact that they can take these B-list characters, right, which Falcon and Bucky are B-list characters in the Avengers roster. They can take these B-list characters, and we talked about this in a previous episode of ours. Marvel casting is just
second to none.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
And they find these actors to play these roles who are phenomenal actors. And so the concept of Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan carrying a series on Disney Plus by themselves, it was a risk, but they've come through in spades. I mean, Anthony Mackie is killing it.
Awesome.
He has been so good in this series. I mean, to your point, even that half an hour of the show that was slow, I enjoyed watching it because he was so good in what he was doing.
Yeah, awesome.
He was awesome. But he has that great conversation with her. He's getting through to her. And, of course, John Walker busts in and ruins the day. And they chase her. And the big scene is she eventually evades everybody. But Zemo, who had been handcuffed, got away. And he ends up shooting her, shoots her in the gut. She tries to get away. And in her attempt to get away, she spills the other 12 vials of super soldier
That just
serum.
shows you guys, when you watch that, it just shows you Zemo's resolve, right? So he had an opportunity to steal and to have the power serum. And his first reaction is to smash it all, to do away with it. That just shows you the power and his resolve of doing away with super powered people.
Well, he was talking to Falcon earlier in the episode, calling any super soldier, they were zealots. What did he call them? He called them basically they're taking advantage of the power they've been given.
Yeah.
And Anthony Mackie fought back and said, "Well, what about Steve Rogers?" And he said, "Touche. There's one example of somebody who's had this serum who ended up being good.
But there's never been another.
And
everybody Sam held back. He was going to say, well, Isaiah Bradley, but he held back. I felt like he wanted to say that, but he didn't.
Well, and later on in the episode, Daniel Bruhl says, well, all super soldiers need to be done away with. There's no room for super soldiers. Right. They all need to be killed and destroyed. He said, don't think Carly's good. They all need to be destroyed. And he said, well, what about Buck? So you're basically telling me that anybody with a super soldier serum has to be. And so you're saying that Bucky needs to be destroyed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so to your point, though, he finds the vials that Carly had spilled, and he destroyed every single one of them.
Until John Walker hits him with a shield.
We thought John Walker shows up, and he finds one vial that hadn't been broken, puts it in his pocket, And you and I and everybody else watching the show knew exactly what was going to happen.
No question. And I think that was a great way to introduce, the new Cap to the serum, right? I think that was a brilliant, very clever way. Instead of him getting beat up and needing a blood transfusion, or the power broker coming in, or him being, kind of...
an experiment
or something. I think that was a great way to get him the power serum.
Well, and I think the reason why he decided, so he was struggling with it. Should I take it? And he was because he talked to Battlestar about
Lamar,
this.
yeah.
Lamar, he said, would you take it if you had the chance? Lamar's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he said, wouldn't you be afraid about what it would do to you, how it would change you? And he said, well, supposedly the super soldier serum just makes you more of who you are. And he says, you've got 3 medals of honor. You've made great decisions in battle. So that's all it would do, is enhance those things.
Lamar Haskins is a character that I feel that they put in place in this show to keep him level, right? To keep him on the rails. That crazy train could fucking go off the rails.
He's talked him off the ledge several times.
And even in the very beginning, when they were in that locker room and his wife was leaving, she says, "You're up." And he goes, "Roger that." Like, guess what? You're up to calm him down and to keep him level-headed and to talk what you're supposed to talk into him. So I think they put Lamar with him and made this Battlestar character.
And he's become very likable. Battlestar is very likable.
Yeah.
And several times in the show, even in this episode, John Walker has this, resolve to do the things that he thinks are right and the way he wants to do them. And Lamar's talked him off the ledge and said, look, maybe we should just let these guys do what they do.
Right. He convinced them.
Let's let Falcon go talk to her, because he's really good. So he's played a very good role. But
not to spoil it, but
yeah,
I hated to see him go.
Right. Well, but we find out the reason why John feels now compelled to take the serum is because he gets his ass completely handed to him by the Dora Milaje.
The Dora Milaje kicked his ass. And then he made a comment like, they're not even super soldiers.
Right.
Like, what am I doing here?
They show up at the apartment that Sam and Buck and Zemo are hiding out in, and they're there to take Zemo. And, John Walker's like, Captain America, you know who I am, right? And they're like, get out of my way. You're in the way. And
we got off on the wrong foot, he said.
Right. And they just literally kicked the living crap out of him and Lamar. And his point was there weren't even super soldiers, but they just completely destroyed him.
Yeah.
And you could see the pain on his face that how am I supposed to be Captain America if I can't even fight my way out of, these Dora Milaje.
Right.
And so so you knew at that point in time what was going to happen, right?
Yeah, and he had the super serum with him, so yeah, you knew it was
and in that scene, Zemo pulls an El Chapo, which is what they called it in the show. Great.
Anthony Mackie, the Falcon says, I can't believe you El Chapo, which is the Mexican drug lord that snuck out of the tunnel that was dug under the prison. So, he went in the bathroom.
So he's gone. So Zemo's gone. The Dora Milaje supposedly are out.
Hot on his trail.
Chasing him, finding him.
Yeah.
But then... that
was cool how they disengaged his arm.
Oh, yeah. They had this secret, touch points on his arm, and they can basically make his arm fall off.
Yeah, he's like, did you know that could happen? And Bucky's like, no. And then he reattaches it. It was kind of cool. Yeah. And that, Siri from Wakanda had to put some safeguards in that arm.
Of course.
And she's tracking it, right? They can track him wherever he is. So I think
he's okay with that.
Of course, the White Wolf.
He owes a lot.
He owes them a lot.
Right. But then we find Carly calls Sam's sister. And this kind of sets Sam off. Carly calls Sam's sister. I need you to convince Sam.
Sam's sister, Sarah, right?
Right, that I'm doing the right thing. That he needs to stop helping these people who are fighting against my cause. And she threatens her and her family. But, I need you to give Sam a message, tell him to meet me. And she tells Sam's sister that her plan is to kill Captain America. And he needs to be gone. And Sam's sister doesn't have any love lost for the guy either. But, she doesn't necessarily agree with
She makes it a point to say that, look, my brother is not behind this guy. He doesn't follow the new Captain America.
Right.
Sam is not on his team. So I thought that was interesting. And, she did it the wrong way. She threatened the boys, Sarah's sons, and probably rubbed Sam the wrong way. But I think she made it pretty clear that she liked Sam. She just is, trying to figure it out.
Well, and that sets Sam off, and he goes to confront Carly at the meeting place.
Then Carly tries to recruit him for her team.
She's like, look, killing you would mean nothing. You're a figurehead. You're really not the thing. But killing Captain America would do my cause really a lot of good.
Right.
So she says her mission is to kill Captain America, especially now that the other vials have been destroyed. The power broker's out for her. They get a text from the power broker that he's after them, that he wants his vials back, but now they're gone. She's like, holy crap, what are we going to do?
Yeah, they can't fight two fights. They can't fight Captain America and Sam and Bucky and the power broker, which is interesting.
So they set a trap for John Walker, and they run off, and Buck and Falcon are like, oh, we got to help him out. And oh, by the way, Sharon Carter, Agent Carter,
does some reconnaissance satellite tracking, right?
She's tracking John Walker and says,
did you see that scene where she's walking through a lot of thugs with guns and stuff? I can see why people think she's the power broker.
Well, she's definitely more...
She's more than what we think she is.
She's more entwined in Madripoor than she's led on.
Oh, she's definitely entwined in... But how much? Are they going to resolve that by the end of this?
They have to.
You think they will?
Oh, yeah, they have to.
They got to They need answers to what she's doing there and how powerful she is.
We'll get that.
She's a smoke show. I hope she's
Emily
good.
Van Camp. You think she's a smoke show?
I think she's moving up on my list. That's for damn sure.
She might make Tony's next list.
My next smoke show list.
Smoke shows that we didn't talk about that didn't make Tony's list the last time. So yeah,
Halle Berry's on that list too. You looked at me. You wanted me to say the name. Okay.
But we find out that they set a trap for John Walker, and Sam and Buck go running off trying to help him, and he, and Lamar get attacked. Lamar gets knocked out and tied up, and we get the reveal that John Walker is taking the serum.
He's bending metal bars. He's kicking
throws a guy
ass
down the stairs and hits a wall, and then guy tries to hit him with this metal pipe, and he bends it in half.
Well, he threw the shield into a cement wall.
Right.
And the shield went halfway in the wall. Right. At that point, I was like, okay, he's taking it.
Yeah. So, and
he's juicing.
Sam looks at him and says, what did you do?
He's juicing.
Yeah, he said, what did you do?
There you go.
And
Sam knows.
So then there's this big fight with all of the Flag Smashers and Bucky and Falcon and John Walker. Lamar ends up freeing himself, and it looks like Carly is coming with a knife to stab John Walker as he's being held.
Right.
And Lamar jumps and knocks her over, and then she gets up and punches him straight in the chest. He goes flying backwards, hits a cement pillar, and cracks his neck, and he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead.
And the Flag Smashers are a little freaked out because they go running, and John Walker is now, you can just see the fuse has been lit, and he is like off the rails. He's pissed off.
That was a turning point for the new Cap.
And I love the way that the show did this. If you watch this back, at that moment when Lamar dies, the music stops and the background noise stops, and all you hear is silence as he's looking at Lamar, and you can just see his brain melting. So I love the way they did that in the show.
Everything changes. Even the characters in that shot, their faces realized like something.
How much they screwed up. The
Flag Smashers, and then Bucky and Sam realized, we knew this guy was crazy, and this is what's going to make him go off the rail.
Another sign that he's taking the serum, he jumps out of a window, falls down 3 stories, lands on top of a bus, and starts chasing after one of the Flag Smashers. Yeah. And then the great ending scene where he confronts the one that he catches, tosses his shield at him a couple times, knocks him down, and the guy's like, it wasn't me. And he basically takes his shield and cuts his head off.
Yeah,
Kills him. In front of a town square full of people that are videotaping
with their phones. And the episode is called The World is Watching, and then I knew why. Because everybody's videotaping it, everybody's recording it. Very today. I mean, everybody...
So, the John Walker we thought was coming finally came, showed up in this episode, and he has completely lost it, and who knows what's going to happen to him from this point forward, but now... The video of him killing this guy in the streets is going to be on social media everywhere, and who knows what the future of this character is. Who knows the future of Captain America / John Walker. What's going to happen to him? Do they take the shield from him? Do they take the title from him? Whatever. We don't know, but that's the way the episode ends. And to your point, the scene with him holding the shield with blood splattered all at the bottom was just an iconic,
Oh, yeah. I mean, like Captain America picking up the Thor's hammer, Thanos destroying the shield. There are certain scenes where you're just like, okay, this is an iconic scene. The Iron Man first flight scene. There's certain scenes in the MCU that are iconic. And to see the Captain America shield viciously used to kill someone and coated with blood, I think has to go down as one of the most iconic scenes in MCU history.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But this just sets the stage for the next 2 episodes of the downfall of John Walker and Buck and Sam realizing that the mantle of Captain America means a lot more to a lot of people than John could ever do justice to that role. And
we know how Bucky and Sam get the shield now, right? I mean, they got to take it away from him.
Well, they either take it away from them or it's given to them. And I'm more convinced, and I think we saw, one scene in the show that had been in the trailers, the one where, Buck's flipping the knife and throwing it.
Yeah.
But again, the only scene in the trailers that we haven't seen is the one where Sam and Bucky are tossing the shield around in his front yard. I'm more convinced now that that's how this show ends, with him finally taking on the mantle of Captain America, being given the shield, and he's like, okay, if I'm going to be Captain America, I got to practice and I got to be the best I can. And he and Buck are now practicing, and I think he realizes that's what he has to do. I feel that that's the last 5 minutes of the episode is him tossing it around in his yard and realizing, okay, I'm now going to be Captain America.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
You know what? I wouldn't be mad. I would be absolutely happily satisfied if that's how the show ends, showing that Sam and Bucky kind of come to this mutual agreement, and Sam is working out with the shield, and at least give me the one thing though, Professor. Give me one thing. Give me the Falcon Captain America outfit.
Oh, yeah.
I need that.
And
if you're going to end this show, I know that there's been some
drawings,
toys.
right.
I know there's been some toy releases that have Sam in the Captain America Falcon outfit with the shield. I know that, U.S. Agent, there's been some toys of U.S. Agent without the shield. So, whatever. I also know that episode 5 is a big reveal. There's going to be a cameo.
Did you do rapid shipping on those toys? Are they coming soon?
They should be here any day. I don't know where the hell they are, but they'll be right up here in front of the studio, which I try to keep fresh as possible, with the latest trends. But
yeah, but good episode, and again,
good episode.
Started off slow, but ended very great, and the last 15 minutes were well worth the wait.
Slow as shit, and it fucking ended strong.
Yeah, so I think we have something to look forward to. I think the finale, the last 2 episodes, from what we know, episode 5 is going to have a new character being introduced that we haven't seen so far.
Yeah. I hear it's a female character.
Oh, really?
I hear it's a female character. Yep.
Okay, so we hear that there's a very sad portion of that episode as well.
Yeah, heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking is what the word that was used. So, we'll see what happens next week. And again, I look forward to it every week. It'll be great. I'm
Good
sure.
show.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into some more news items. So you mentioned to me that you heard some news about a couple of movies that are going to start filming this year.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Captain Marvel 2 is going to start filming this year. I can't believe Gunn is already ready to start filming another movie. He's still doing promos for Suicide Squad 2. I mean, he's still in the basking in that promo kind of Hollywood promo stage, and he's already James Gunn is already thinking about filming Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
It makes me believe that the filming of that movie likely won't start until September, because he needs to get through that promotional phase for Suicide Squad, and that movie's being released in August.
August, right?
So once that's released, then it probably frees him up to then start.
We kind of talked about that last episode. Yeah. If you guys want to know a little bit about that new Suicide Squad #2, you got to check out our last podcast and our last YouTube show. We kind of go into it. The professor kind of explains Starro, which is the big fluorescent starfish in that.
But good news is that the Marvel train keeps running, right? So we know right now, in kind of finishing up principal photography is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
We know that that's finishing up right now. We know that Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness is in the middle of filming right now. That's been happening. But to get the news that these two movies are going to start before the end of the year is great. So that just shows that this engine is, and Thor's in the middle of filming right now as well. Yes. Thor's Love and Thunder. So this engine is continuing to run.
Russell Crowe was seen filming in the new Thor movie. Russell Crowe,
really?
Yeah. He looks kind of rough, too. I'm not going to lie to you.
Dude,
he's fully beard, rough.
He's fallen off the train a little bit.
He's not in the shape that he was.
No.
I can tell you that.
A long way from Gladiator, for sure.
Long way. But kind of rough, but he's in that movie. I heard.
Really?
Yeah, they saw him in Australia.
Okay. I'd love to see what role he's playing in the movie.
Me too. I'm excited about that. Sometimes I don't want to see these things. I just want to be shocked with them, you know?
So we got a new trailer for the Loki series as well last week.
Let me talk about Loki for a second. Fucking awesome.
How good was that?
I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to make a prediction. Everybody put me to the test here. I think Loki will blow away WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think it's one of the most anticipated. And after that trailer, I am so hyped for the TVA. I just can't tell you. The TVA, I cannot tell you how hyped I am.
Time Variance Authority.
Time Variance Authority. I cannot. I'm just saying that
so
the hype on this.
It's the Marvel version of the Time Police. They look for anomalies in time that create these new branch timelines, and their job is to fix them so that we can, return the timeline to its original.
The timeline stays kind of consistent with reality, right?
So this was something that the Ancient One alluded to in Infinity War or Endgame when they were going back in time trying to find the Infinity Gems, and she's like, you remove one, you create these splinters in time to create these new alternate timelines. Yeah,
and Owen Wilson, Morbius, that's his character's name, he showed him how that him using the Tesseract at that point in time kind of splintered the timeline, and he's asking him to help him fix it, and with his unique Loki ways. And I think, I'm telling you right now, Owen Wilson's going to steal the show on that.
Oh,
I mean, Tom
Loki, Hiddleston has been a
fan favorite,
unseen home run that Marvel casting has found. He's been fantastic, and for him to be in this role, it's awesome. And here's how much Marvel has invested in the Loki series. It is the only Disney Plus series that's been greenlight for season 2. They already have greenlit Loki for season 2. They're going to have a second season of that show. And it makes sense with WandaVision. Really didn't see like a sequel to that series.
Yeah.
And they may change their mind in the future. And Falcon and Winter Soldier, we don't know. We don't think that there's going to be a sequel to that. But we know that the Loki series is going to have a season 2.
Well, when you have a series like Loki that jumps through time and the multiverse and different dimensions, I think you can get away with that, right? You can stay there forever. And it's a second of time, but you could spend years in different multiverses and jump back and forth. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, we're looking. That trailer was great.
It was great.
I can't wait. They showed were great. Tom Hiddleston.
I'm telling you, it's going to break records. It's going to break records. I wasn't looking forward to it as much as I was these other ones. Like, I'm really looking forward to Moon Knight. I'm going to be honest. That's probably something that I'm near to dear to my heart, and I'm really looking forward to that. But once I saw that trailer for Loki, I was like, okay, this is a winner. This is a home run. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. We got a trailer also for a new DC animated movie, the Batman Long Halloween animated movie.
That was cool shit.
It's a 2-parter. So this is just for part 1. So part 1 is now available on Blu-ray. It should be coming to HBO Max maybe in a couple of months. I'm sure it's on demand very shortly as well. But the Long Halloween storyline in the Batman comics is 20 plus years old, but it is an iconic storyline. It is fantastic with a lot of characters. It's got the Joker and it's got Catwoman in it. It's the origin story of Two-Face, Harvey Dent, kind of struggling with his,
even in the trailer, like flip a coin.
Desire to be
cool.
a good attorney, a district attorney, as well as well, do I go down the criminal route? And they're fighting against a criminal called the Holiday Killer, and there's kind of a big reveal at the end. I won't kind of give it away here. You should watch it; it's great. But as much as Warner Brothers and DC have missed in their movies and their theatrical releases, their animated films,
I agree,
have been fantastic,
off the charts.
And so DC animation has been really good, and just continue to watch them. And Jensen Ackles is voicing Batman in this. He voiced the Red Hood in the Under the Red Hood animated movie. If you don't know who Jensen Ackles is, he's playing the new Captain America style character in The Boys season 3. He's the
Soldier Boy.
Nice. Jensen Ackles is the guy that
Soldier Boy and The Boys.
Yep.
I can't wait for that to start. We're going to get into that, people. If you're interested in The Boys, even if you're not interested in The Boys,
we're going to get into it.
We're going to get into it anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But he voices Batman in that, and it should be great.
Really cool animated series coming out, right? So the Batman, I'm watching Invincible right now on Amazon Prime. It's really cool.
Yeah, I haven't started that, but I'm going to.
It's really
cool. My son's watched it. He said he really liked it.
Yeah, I'm really interested in finding out where they're going with Omni-Man in that. It's kind of cool. You should. I like it. There's some big stars that voice those characters. But yeah, Invincible on Amazon Prime. I'm into that.
Okay, I'll check it out. We also did get an announcement this week that Marvel is in the process of developing a Deadpool animated series.
Yes, please. Give me more, please. Yes, please. And who's involved?
Ryan Reynolds.
Professor.
So this is very different than... So there was a rumored animated series that was in development for FX about a couple of years ago, and the Childish Gambino... the man himself was supposedly going to be producing that, and that kind of died on the vine.
It did.
It died primarily because of the Marvel acquisition of Fox. That kind of died.
2018 or 19. I remember something about him tweeting his screenplay or tweeting something.
Anthony Glover?
Yeah. Anthony Glover.
Yeah. So
exactly.
He was the one who was supposed to be doing that, and they had put together a 5-minute kind of snippet of what that would look like, and it was fantastic. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, this is going to be great!" It's going to be on the FX network. But when Marvel and Disney, when Disney bought Fox and the Fox properties, that kind of got killed.
Yeah.
Well, now we know. Right now, Disney came out this week and said we are working on a Deadpool animated series. It will be on Hulu.
Yep.
And Ryan Reynolds is involved.
Has to be
huge.
It has to be. And do you think that the MODOK will kind of set the... Well, it's an animated series on Hulu.
Yeah.
Right? It's an adult animated series. Yeah. Do you think that will set the tone for it? Are they waiting to see...
Good question. When does MODOK come out, by the way?
It comes out, I think, in 2 months.
Yeah, but
August?
Isn't that claymation, though? That's not really animation, isn't it? I thought
No,
it was
I
like
think
a claymation series.
I thought it was animation.
I want to check it out. But yeah,
but it's an adult series, right? So they're kind of testing the waters.
Yep.
Which is kind of fun.
I love the fact that Disney's making investments in the Hulu audience, and that's where they're going to put some of their kind of questionable R-rated content, right? So,
but how can you go wrong with Ryan Reynolds behind anything?
No, it's going to be fantastic.
He is Deadpool. Come on.
Right. Also, we did get some more leaks from the Spider-Man No Way Home set this week.
I know nothing about this. I saw the show notes and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. So
how did the professor pull this?
The guy who does the voiceover for Tobey Maguire, he's the Spanish language voiceover actor for Tobey Maguire. So when you do the SAP or
what did I tell you about spending time on the dark web? You got to stay off the dark web.
Well, the guy that's Tobey Maguire's Spanish language voice actor confirmed his involvement in the movie, so that was a big one. But there were some other kind of photographs from the set. They were like, okay, there was a guy in the Tobey Maguire costume on set, and it was like, oh, okay, this is
the Spider-Man costume.
Yes, from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man costume. So, and again, this is nothing that Marvel or Sony has confirmed. They've completely continued to deny that his involvement in the project. It is the worst kept secret ever. So we know it's happening at this point. I mean, the beauty of the internet is great, but
that's awesome.
Yep.
My cousin's sister, whose boyfriend at 31 Flavors last night saw Tobey Maguire.
There you go. And then we got another announcement this week. Warner Brothers did come out officially and announced that. So we had talked about this previously. Every Warner Brothers movie was coming direct to HBO Max this year, was not going to the theaters.
Right.
And they said, we're back in theaters in 2022.
2022, they've made a commitment to be back in theaters. So The Batman will be in theaters, not on HBO Max.
Right. So while they are releasing their entire slate of movies this year on HBO Max, we did just a week ago, we got Kong versus Godzilla. Did you watch that, by the way?
I haven't.
You got to watch it. It's horrible, but I loved every minute of it.
What do you mean it's horrible and you loved every minute of it?
Okay.
What?
So what I'll tell you is there's absolutely no reason for them to have put any actors in that movie. And anytime there's an actor on screen and they're saying lines, it does absolutely nothing for the movie. It's horrible. Literally, They should not have had any actors in that movie. But the scenes with the Titans, Kong, Godzilla...
No, don't ruin it for me.
I know. It is spectacular.
Okay.
I mean, that part of the movie is great. So
I'll
it was
probably
a
watch it
horrible
this
movie,
weekend.
and I loved every minute of it. So
That's great.
It was great.
It was a horrible movie, but I loved every minute of it. All right.
And what else? And that's one of the movies.
I'm all in.
That's an HBO Max movie that would have been in theaters, but hey, we can't see them in theaters at the moment. But they did confirm we're going to be back in theaters next year, which is great. I mean, that's where we all would rather be anyway. So we're all excited to go into the theater and get our popcorn and jujubes and everything else.
Absolutely.
And watch movies.
Hey, one thing I wanted to mention real quick is there was a trailer for Jupiter's Legacy released. And it's a Netflix superhero show, and it looks absolutely fantastic. It looks really good. The trailer, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Jupiter's Legacy. It's on Netflix. And it looks like it's going to be May 7th. It's going to be released. And it looks really good. I thought the trailer was excellent.
We're going to have a little bit of a lull in May, so maybe we have to do some review of
We absolutely
Legacy.
are.
Right.
Oh my God, we're going to have to. It looks great. I mean, it looks really good. It kind of reminds me of Invincible, the animated thing that's on Amazon Prime right now.
Great.
It's a son.
So is this live action or is it animated?
It's live action. It's not animated. Yeah.
Wow.
It looks really good.
Okay.
And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the outfits that the superheroes are in are kind of badass.
Smoke show?
No, there's no smoke show. They're all... They start off young and then they get really old.
Okay. So adolescence? Right.
Maybe a MILF here and there. I don't know. But okay.
All right. All right. Well, let's get into the topic of the week this week. I did tease this on last week's episode, and I wanted to get into it this week. Titanium was at... Islands of Adventure, Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure last week, which is the Marvel haven of theme parks right now. Got the Hulk
on the East Coast.
It is still the Marvel haven. It's like the biggest Marvel theme park anywhere right now.
Right now, yes.
So they got the Hulk roller coaster. They got the Spider-Man ride. They've got what's the drop tower?
I almost threw up on the Spider-Man
Doctor Doom's drop tower. Yeah. They've got X-Men and Avengers everywhere that you can see around the entire park.
Yeah.
And when the big question is, when Disney bought Marvel, why are there no Marvel superheroes in Disney World?
Yeah, so, I think I asked you that while I was there or when I got back, and because I didn't know. I don't know the history of that. So people, pull out your notebooks. The professor's going to take you to school real quick. He's going to teach you something.
So we'll get into some of the history. So this starts off with back in the late 70s and early 80s, Marvel Comics was having a very difficult time financially. They were on the verge of filing for bankruptcy. Subscribership was down, purchases were down on the comic book side, and they were on the verge of bankruptcy in the early 80s. And
because Kevin Feige wasn't involved.
Well, this was just the comic book business, right? So that's all there was at the time. There were no movies, no television shows, nothing.
They were, but they were shitty.
They had maybe attempted one or two. There was a early Captain America
so good
TV show.
You got to watch
movie
that.
so
It's
bad.
so good. I watched that on YouTube the other day.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But it was a very desperate time for the company, and Stan Lee and the other executives at the company at the time had decided that they needed an influx of cash to survive. And the only way for them to do that was to offer their properties for license. And that's where the Sony licensing of Spider-Man came from.
Right.
That time, the desperation of Marvel, Sony came to them and said, hey, we'll buy the rights to Spider-Man to make any Spider-Man movie or whatever. We want that. And they said, okay, we'll sell it to you. And that's how they sold the rights to the X-Men and the Fantastic Four to Fox. That's how they sold the rights to the Hulk to Universal Studios. That's when all that happened. They also sold... So Universal Studios had been in California. So we had the original Universal Studios theme park in California. They were building a new theme park in Florida. The Universal Studios theme park in Florida.
Okay.
When that was built, they had planned an expansion of that theme park called the Islands of Adventure, and they wanted a reason for you to go there.
Okay.
And so they went to Marvel Comics at the time and said, we'd like to license your characters for the Islands of Adventure, because we need another draw into our theme park.
A bunch of the popular ones.
And they said, yep, sounds great. You have the rights to use our characters in your theme park. And that was done by Marvel Comics long, long time ago. Well, then in 2009, when Disney bought Marvel Entertainment, so they bought entire...
For how much?
$4 billion.
With a B.
With a B, yeah.
$1 billion. Okay.
So... Disney buys Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion, and we're like, oh, well, great. This means that all the Marvel characters are going to be coming to Disney World. Well, not so fast. Come to find out that acquisition by, we know this much, that acquisition by Disney did not include those rights that they had already signed over, did not include the rights to Spider-Man that Sony owned, did not include the rights that Fox owned to the X-Men and Fantastic Four, did not include the distribution rights for Hulk movies that Universal had. We knew that happened because they couldn't make those movies and use those characters. Now, subsequently, Marvel's gone after those properties, right? They bought 20th Century Fox so they could get the rights to that. They ended up making a huge deal with Sony to co-produce movies, and that's how we have the Tom Holland version of Spider-Man, right? So we know that these deals have happened subsequently, but they did not originally include those. At the time, Bob Iger was the CEO of Disney, and he was asked, what does this mean for the theme parks? And he said, at the time, Universal Studios has the rights to use our characters in their theme parks as long as they continue to pay us royalties. And that's what they do. They pay Marvel, and ultimately now Disney, royalties every year for the rights to use those characters. As long as they continue to pay those royalties, they have the rights to use those characters, and they
will.
And and of course now there's no reason why they wouldn't. So what does this mean for Disney and Disney World? Now, this sets a boundary. So any theme park east of the Mississippi River cannot have any of the Marvel characters. The name Marvel cannot be used.
Right.
None of the characters can be used. So that's why none of those characters have been used anywhere in any of the Disney World theme parks, is because Universal owns those rights and they're isolated to the East Coast of the United States. We know that Disneyland out in California, there's another park out there that they have. It's called the California Adventure Park.
Yeah.
They originally built a Guardians of the Galaxy ride. They took the
Tower of Terror
design that was in Hollywood Studios in Disney World, and they brought that out to California Adventure, and they created a Guardians of the Galaxy ride out there, and it's incredibly popular.
Yeah.
And we know there are plans right now to develop a superhero themed world in California Adventure as well, and that's going to have they're going to have character meet and greets, they're going to have the Avengers Academy, they're going to do all this other stuff out there. That's happening out in California.
The Avengers Campus, it's called.
Yep, and that's happening, and that is being
built. There's a Doctor
built.
Strange solarium, or where there are meet and greets for characters. There's a Pym food court, a Pym Particles food court. There's a Spider-Man ride, actually. There's a Spider-Man interaction ride or something like that.
And that's all happening in California because it's not within that boundary that Universal
I don't want to
controls.
go to California, but I might have to.
Right. Well, and again, if you've ever been on a Disney cruise line, they had an Avengers Academy in the cruise ship. So you could walk into the Avengers Academy, you could go around, see Captain America's shield, you could see Thor's hammer. It was all crazy. They did a lot of that stuff. But no theme parks could have anything. It's so limiting that you will never see the word Marvel in any Disney World property. They do in there's what used to be called Downtown Disney is now called Disney Springs. It's the little shopping area they have downtown. There is a shop there where you can buy Marvel characters, stuffed animals, and all kinds of other things, and T-shirts.
But they don't call it Marvel.
No, it's called the Superhero Store.
Jeez.
Because they can't call it the Marvel Store. They can't call it the Avengers Store. They have to call it the Superhero Store.
Wow.
So it's very limiting. Now, what we've heard, it's never been confirmed by neither Disney nor Universal Studios, but we know that there was some agreement made between the two companies that allowed Disney to use characters that were not currently being featured at Universal Studios Hours of Adventure. So we know right now that Disney is in the process of designing a Guardians of the Galaxy ride for Epcot Center.
I know that for a fact because I saw it. I saw the fence that were up, and I saw the signs that said, future home of Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
So Guardians of the Galaxy is one of those properties that's not currently in use by Universal Studios, and Marvel came up with a deal with Universal, said, we know you have the X-Men and Spider-Man and the Hulk and all the Avengers are at Islands of Adventure right now. What about the ones you're not using? Can we use them? And they came up with some type of agreement. So we know the Guardians of the Galaxy ride's coming to Epcot. We believe that there's the ability to set up some type of area that's around Wakanda and the Black Panther and some other things that they may be doing there because that's another character that's not currently in use there. So
the rumor is that Animal Kingdom is going to set up a Wakanda type land,
just like they did with Avatar. They set up an Avatar themed land in Animal Kingdom that they're talking about putting together a Wakanda themed land for
be huge.
It'd be huge.
Be huge. Yeah. That's a $1 billion movie.
Again, that's never been confirmed by either company, but it's been assumed based on some agreement that they came to.
Very cool.
Yeah. So again, this does not limit Disney's ability to use it on their cruise ships. Out in California, they are making Marvel type of investments in Disney Hong Kong as well as Disney Paris. So these are properties that are limited. But unfortunately, for those of us on the East Coast who do visit Disney World, we're not going to see many of those characters that we know and love. And it's because of this agreement that Marvel signed
it's a shame.
Years ago. And who knows? Do we think there's a possibility that Disney will buy Comcast and Universal Studios someday? Maybe. The antitrust lawyers are all licking their chops right now, but could it happen? Who knows? Right?
Who knows?
Right. All right. Well, but Universal's owned by Comcast, and that's a pretty big company. So
I don't think they're going to relinquish that anytime soon.
NBC Universal, Comcast, NBC Universal. So that would be another television network. I just don't think that's ever happening. Right. So, all right, that's where we got. That's just, hopefully everybody.
Good stuff. Yeah, a lot of information. Thank you, Professor. That was very educational. As usual, the professor dropping major knowledge. Thank you.
All right, we got some listener questions of the week this week, or we have a listener question.
It's so interesting. This is so unusual and out of left field, but we got a question. How fast is the Flash, and who is the fastest speedster in the Flash verse? So the Flash verse is, Barry Allen, Wally West. There's a ton of speedsters, right? Who is the fastest, and how fast is the Flash?
So we know there's been several versions of the Flash, right? So we had originally the Jay Garrick version of the Flash.
Right.
Then we had the second iteration. That was the Golden Age version of the Flash, originally in the Justice Society. And Jay Garrick was retired. We then got the Barry Allen version, who is arguably the most popular, the most successful, the most well-known version of the Flash. His brother-in-law, Wally West, ends up becoming the Flash. And Wally West was very popular as well, and had a really long run when Barry Allen had disappeared because of the Crisis on Infinite Earths timeline, or storyline.
We have the Reverse Flash. We have a lot of different Flashes.
We have
speedsters. Let's call them speedsters.
Yeah,
right?
who's the other the Impulse, who is a future version of the Flash. So we've had a bunch of speedsters in the comics. And the question is, how fast is the Flash? So the question is, well, how fast is which version of the Flash, and who's the fastest one? And if we're going to limit it to speedsters, and let's do that for argument's sake, because I would say there are other characters who aren't speedsters that are probably faster than the Flash. So, for example, Spectrum, Monica Rambeau, who we saw in WandaVision, is arguably the fastest superhero ever because she can transform herself into visible light and can travel faster than anything, right? So,
wow.
Yeah. How fast do we think, or do we know the Flash is? We know that he can almost run as fast as the speed of light. He can't run as fast as the speed of light, but he can get close. When he approaches the speed of light, it starts messing with time. And we saw this in the Snyder Cut of the Justice League.
Correct.
That Barry Allen said, I need to run as fast as I can. When I approach the speed of light...
He actually said, I need to break my own rules.
Yeah, he said...
So he knew how dangerous it was.
When I approach the speed of light, some stuff happens and usually messes with time a little bit, but I can do it. Now, what I'll tell you is, theoretically, all of the speedsters... We'll say most of the speedsters in the DC universe get their speed from the same source. It's the Speed Force.
Correct.
They're all in...
It's another dimension where time kind of stands still.
It's a, let's call it a universal constant, right? The Speed Force is a universal force that they're tapping into for speed.
Right.
Now, the Reverse Flash originally tied into the Speed Force, but then ultimately created his own Speed Force, and it's called the Reverse Speed Force. It's a long story. But all of the speedsters, all the versions of Flash have always tapped into the Speed Force. The Speed Force as a constant means they all have access to the same speed. The question is, how well have they trained themselves to access it properly?
Got it.
And Barry Allen likely has mastered that longer and better than any of them have. As a matter of fact, the reason why the Crisis on Infinite Earths timeline was saved was because Barry Allen ran so fast that he saved the universe, and he disappeared because of it. He ended up becoming part of the Speed Force. He dissolved himself into the Speed Force, and that's when Wally West kind of took over. Now, Wally West has run pretty fast as well, right? So, like I said, he can run across the universe, right? So he's running pretty fast as well. But theoretically, they can all run the same speed. The question is, how well have they trained themselves to access that power?
And how well can they use the Speed Force to run that fast?
Right.
And you're saying Barry Allen.
Yeah, Barry Allen, I would think, is easily the
Even
best.
though Wally West ran across the universe.
Yeah, I think Barry Allen has and will always be the best version of the Flash, and he's always seems to always be a step ahead of Wally, even when Wally was at his best.
There you go, kids. The professor has spoken.
Yeah, the other question. Well, what about Quicksilver? How fast is he? And he's even close. Well, he's a mutant. He doesn't have access to the Speed Force. There's a lot of things that the Flash can do that Quicksilver cannot do, like vibrate through walls and a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
And there was I have these, and I can bring it in at some point in time, but there was a DC and Marvel had a DC versus Marvel comic book series. So they decided to work together finally and have their characters fight each other and see who was the best, right? So like the Hulk fought Superman, and Quicksilver fought the Flash, and so that happened in that comic book series that they both came out with together.
Yeah.
And the Flash just absolutely owned Quicksilver.
Oh, of course.
It wasn't even close.
Yeah,
so,
I agree with that. Cool.
Yeah.
There you go. Great answer. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah. All right. Well, should we call it a week?
Wait a minute. Hold on. Do you hear that?
That's
the bell.
It's ringing.
That's the bell, brother. School's over.
Well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or at supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
And we're out. Awesome. Great Flash answer, man. That was fucking awesome. Wow. Drop some serious knowledge.